All right, it's 9:20. Means it's 4:20 somewhere. So if you got one, spark up. So now, I came across this video the other day, and I've mentioned a few times before in my videos, about Australia. And there's a lot of mixed information out there about Australia and just how crazy it is. But this particular story just goes to show the level of insane it is. And if you ask me, if you ask, this is why the Second Amendment is so important. Because I feel like the only reason this ain't here yet is because we have the Second Amendment. It would be a lot harder. Now, keep in mind, this is a story about three people, three teenagers, none of which who have tested positive for COVID. They were just suspected of being around someone who did. Went to a voluntary COVID internment camp, or no, quarantine camp. People don't like it when you call it a concentration camp, even though, it's a bunch of people concentrated in a certain area for a certain reason, which, is the definition. But let me shut up and let's just play and watch this absurdity.
We start with breaking news out of Darwin, where 3 people have escaped from the Howard Springs COVID quarantine facility. Talia Sava's there for us. Talia, good morning. There's a search underway right now.
Yes, that's right, Davina. Good morning to you. We've been told the trio scaled the fence in the early hours of this morning. Police receiving reports around 4:40 a.m. Now, major police checkpoints have been set up around Howard Springs for the past several hours. As you can see in these pictures, they've
I can't fully speak for Australia, but I know here in America, if a child goes missing, they don't do this. Yet here they are doing this because they escaped a voluntary concentration camp. This is absurd. You would swear these 3 kids murdered somebody. It's insane.
Conducting thorough searches in car boots, checking vehicle registrations, cars and buses alike. But in the last half an hour, what we understand is they've actually been dismantled. Exactly why, that hasn't been confirmed. Hopefully good news. We're also not sure yet who these people are connected with, whether it's a repatriation flight or those Aboriginal community members who have been staying here following the Catherine cluster. Davina, what we do know is that this is definitely going to bring this gold standard facility under intense scrutiny. On Sunday, we had a man escape and found on Darwin's party precinct, and this latest situation is...
So apparently somebody escaped before. Escaping is just what people do, Now, granted, when you tell me something is voluntary, that means you should be able to voluntarily leave. You voluntarily show up, you voluntarily leave. How the fuck are they having to escape? Especially people that's testing negative. It's insane. But again, I feel like if it wasn't for the Second Amendment, because you gotta remember, a lot of these people, they get a choice. They either hop in the back of a military truck or hop in a fucking stupid 19 cab. Clearly you don't have a choice. You get a choice in how you get there, but you don't have a choice in going. Here in the U.S., it wouldn't be that easy because we have the Second Amendment. And the fact that you show up to a family's house it's quite possible that that whole family is going to be armed, and taking them to a facility against their will is just, especially, for being suspected of coming into contact with someone who tested positive for the bug. You just got to be ripped from your home and go to this facility for 14 days. Like, that's insane. But let's keep going. We got a little ways left. Barely.
They're going to put us under the microscope further.
Not good news. OK, Talias, thank you. Let's go to breaking news that's coming out of New South Wales right now. The state has recorded its 6th case of the Omicron variant. Health Minister Brad Hazzard confirmed the news just a short time ago, and Damien Ryan has the details for us out of Sydney. Damien.
6th case of the Omicron variant. That's not a lot. But as you can see, they are going batshit crazy. Like, their numbers haven't even been, like, compared to other countries. Their numbers, their death count.
Good morning to you.
Really low.
What more do we know about this case?
Well, Davina, we know he's a man in his 40s who resides in the Cabramatta area. He flew in on that Qatar flight from Doha last Thursday, and we understand he'd spent the last 6 months in Nigeria, so he'd been in Southern Africa, caught the flight to Doha, and then on to Australia last Thursday. Now, if it is confirmed, and it sounds like it will be, he'll be could have been moving around the community, particularly in Sydney's west and southwest, for 5 or 6 days. Of course, he is the 6th person who was on that flight who travelled from Southern Africa to be caught up with this variant. Now, as you mentioned, the Health Minister, Brad Hazzard, made this announcement just a short time ago, and he says there's obvious concerns about just how quickly this virus is able to spread.
Transmissibility of this particular variant, Omicron, is quite high. What we don't know definitively at this point is whether or not it was picked up on the aircraft or picked up in the various periods that people were in those southern African countries.
Now, at midnight, of course, Davina, those new rules, those new harsher rules for penalties and for those people flying back into Australia from anywhere overseas, of course, you now have to self-isolate at home for 72 hours, strictly 72 hours. And that will only end if you, of course, produce a negative test. And then there'll be a further test 3 days later. So 6 days after you arrive, you have to carry out that test. Now, if you do the wrong thing, it used to be $1,000 fine. Well, from midnight last night until the foreseeable future, it will be $5,000. Davina?
It's a huge fine.
Now, I hadn't made it this far in the video. I just saw the first part, the first little part, and just said, this is insane. But I do want to point out something, as they do here in the United States. Notice he pushed how transmissible it is, but left out the part that it so far has been very mild cases. Why? Fear. Highly transmissible is scary. Mild symptoms is not. They can't justify the things that they do if the people aren't scared. Too many people will push back. So you got to use the highly transmissible part and leave out the mild symptoms part. But then that's insane. $5,000 fine. You come out your house within 72 hours. Like, that's insane. $5,000.
OK, Damo, thank you. Meantime, state and territory leaders have agreed to stick to the national reopening plan amid the Omicron threat. The Prime Minister describing last night's National Cabinet meeting as useful. Further lockdowns have been ruled out for now, but international workers and students will remain locked out until at least December 15. Debate in Victoria's upper house has raged overnight and into this morning as the state government looks to push through its controversial pandemic bill. The talks started at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. They are still ongoing as opposition and independent MPs attempt to push through the amendments before a final vote. It's led to fraying tempers in the Legislative Council.
Sorry, can we have some decorum? I know it's getting to be now. I can no longer say very late. I'm saying very early.
The amendments then need to pass the lower house for final approval, with that vote expected to go ahead tomorrow. Friends and colleagues have remembered a Melbourne nurse who died after contracting COVID as beautiful and compassionate. Jill Dempsey, died at Box Hill Hospital on Sunday. She was a staff member at the Angus Hospital in the city's outer east, a stint she began in 2007. Forensic testing is underway to determine whether human remains found in the Victorian High Country search for Russell Hill and Carol Clay.
Okay, we've left the stupid 19 discussions and I didn't realize it was going to be a whole great big segment. Human remains, flood evacuation, school shooting, Michigan. The fuck y'all were? Y'all like on the way to be in fucking 1930s Germany. Y'all worried about a school shooting in Michigan? But yeah. Wait, no. Let's go back. Just leave it right here where we have the manhunt. So yeah. That is how far crazy it has gotten in Australia. To the point where you'd swear like the world's, the country's most dangerous criminal just escaped prison. No. 3 teenagers who had tested negative escaped the voluntary facility. Like, that's crazy. But again, people like to bring up, Australia did away with blah, 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 blah. And now they don't have no... Yeah, well, look what's happening to them. They got people showing up to their door. Hey, you came in contact with someone who got the stupid 19. You're going to the camp. Which way would you like to go? We got the cab or we got the military truck? They can't do that here. Because they know it's absurd. And they know there would be a large segment of the population, particularly an ardent segment of the population, who wouldn't go for that. Hell, even people who don't have guns, they might go in their fucking kitchen. Like, nah, fuck that. You not putting me, no. Like, it's essentially being sent to prison for the crime of possibly having come into contact with someone who has the bug that has a 99% survival rate. I've said it before. This ends when we say it does. When we stop complying. Like, and it's that simple. Or you can just keep muzzling it out. Get your 4 jabs a year, because that's what they're saying now. They're talking about now in some countries is cutting the booster length in half from 6 to 3 months. So it'll be a matter of time before that comes here. And you'll be getting your juice every 3 months, 4 times a year. And the billions of dollars that these companies are about to make. And mind you, Bill Gates, he bought a lot of stocks in some of these companies. at the very beginning of this, as did many politicians on both sides of the aisle. And back then, those stocks were under $50 a piece per share. Now they're over $300 per share. Do you not see what is going on? On top of the billions of tax dollars that are being given to these companies, some of which will be used, shoot, they probably put in a couple $100 million to buy your politician to, go against your interests and serve theirs. Left talks about this all the time. But right now they're, there's a good portion of them who are extremely, you need to obey and get your pharma juice. But yeah, you're just giving them more power, and that power is going to be used against you. So if you're one of those people who wants Medicare for all, you really need to oppose these mandates, because you are going to give these people so much power. There's no way you'll ever get your Medicare for all. It won't. The likelihood of you getting it anyways is already slim to none. But if you give them to the point where we're going to be getting mandated 4 times a year, and they're about to raise their rates on how much they're going to sell them for. Mind you, most people think they're free. They're not giving them away out of the goodness of their heart. No, they're receiving a lot of our tax dollars for it. This is how cronyism works. Company makes a product. A lot of politicians invest in company. Politicians mandate that company's product. Shoot. I wish I could invent something that the government would then have to mandate. Yeah, then, it's so effective, you get 4 times a year. So, Oregon even right now is looking into passing a bill that they're going to make it, they say they're going to make it easy to repeal. But they're looking about making an indefinite muzzle mandate. Again, this ends when we say it does. If we let them, they will continue to kick this can down the road because it is too profitable for them. Everyone, especially people and it's not even just the left and the right. Everyone hates Jeff Bezos, but guess what? When the regular stores close down, or crazy restrictions to get in, people are gonna more and more people are going there. His business doubled, tripled when mom and pops had to close their store. Shoot, in Michigan, they their Walmart supercenters or whatever, they had to close off certain sections of the store that weren't deemed as essential. They went real far with it. But let me know what you think. I don't know. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think this will never come here even if we didn't have our Second Amendment? Or are you happy we have a Second Amendment because we are not going through this? Let me know what you think. Other than that, thanks for watching. Y'all have a nice night. Stay blazing.